Good morning once again. This is Jacob Mountain back with you here at the Southern Michigan Weather Center at 10:45 a.m. on this Friday, April 18th. And I just wanted to provide another quick update on the severe weather situation. The National Weather Service has updated their severe thunderstorm warning to remove some counties while maintaining some counties ahead of more storms that are moving on shore shortly. And they may, at least on radar, may be packing a bit more of a punch. First off, I'm going to start with this further east complex. These storms are relatively noisy. I've been hearing some pretty loud thunder here outside the Southern Michigan Weather Headquarters here in Gratiot County. But these are non-severe and they are weakening as they continue to move east. So probably not much more than heavy rain and some loud thunder this activity towards like St. Charles, Chesaning, Owasso, eventually towards Saginaw, towards the Birch Run, Frankenmuth areas. These storms might be on the louder side, but we're not expecting anything severe out of them. Another storm that is currently moving in the eastern Kent County and then moving into southern Montcalm and Ionia counties. These are not severe at this point in time. We could be seeing maybe some smaller hail, maybe some gusty winds, but they are unlikely to be severe and will also tend to weaken as they move east as well. But the main show we're watching is just beginning to move on shore near the Muskegon, Grand Haven areas, Norton Shores, and to just north of the Holland area. These storms look to be packing a little bit more of a punch, at least from what we've been seeing on radar. First, let's take a look at mean estimated hail size for this. Not seeing any too big a hail. Although storms will remain capable of up to quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. But we're not seeing too much in terms of large hail potential. But one thing we are going to look at is some gusty wind potential. I have seen some reports, let me check on that. Yeah, potentially some gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. And just a few thousand feet up, 50 to just over 60 in spots miles per hour in terms of wind gusts with this complex as it begins to move on shore. Now, this is a couple thousand feet up, and these are not necessarily reaching the surface, but definitely 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts cannot be ruled out, and we will have to watch for the potential of some 60 mile per hour wind gusts as this line continues to move up on shore by 11 a.m. It is in the process of doing that now, and this is by far our strongest storm out of the complex. And it will quickly move off to the east at, let me get the warning text, 65 miles per hour. So these storms are not taking their time moving through. These storms are not taking their time moving through here. So, in fact, we expect these storms to be mostly out of our region, probably around not the midnight. Why am I thinking it's nighttime? It might look like that, but it's not. But probably around a noon, 1 o'clock time frame, we expect these storms to be out of here, and our morning severe weather threat is over. For a good period of time this afternoon and evening, we don't expect activity to really be ongoing. We are watching a warm front that will be lifting through the area, but we are also going to be dealing with a capping inversion that will kind of put a lid on any storm development through the afternoon into the early evening hours. Eventually, as we head towards later in the evening, like after 7 p.m., heading through the later evening and early overnight hours, we will be watching for more storms to develop, and those will probably carry, again, similar potential for large hail and damaging winds. Let me bear with me here. I'm going to switch over to another system real quick. There we go. Weather-wise, okay. So again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Kent, Ottawa, and southern Muskegon counties until 11:15 this morning. Our line of what's really been the strongest complex of storms is moving on shore now. Over the Muskegon area, you're probably seeing very, very heavy rainfall, likely some gusty winds and maybe some hail. And we've also been seeing some lightning of this activity. Not really in a terrible amount, but what we have been seeing has been on the louder side. And, but I'm going to switch to velocity as well. And this, again, this is a couple thousand feet up. Not all of this might be necessarily reaching the surface. But we are showing 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. I think this 5.4 is a little bit off in terms of radar height. Looking at my other source, we're really only 2,000 to 3,000 feet up from the radar at the Grand Rapids Gerald R. Ford International Airport. But again, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts being shown just a few thousand feet up, and I could easily see 40, 50, and maybe 60 in some spots mile per hour wind gusts reaching the surface with this. Again, primary hazards with these storms as they move east on shore, continue to do so, will be large hail up to quarter size in diameter and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This is in addition to heavy rainfall and frequent lightning. Again, these storms off to the east, heading through the Belding, Orleans area, just north of the Saranac area, eventually heading towards the Ionia, Lyons, Mere, Pewamo areas. This one is unlikely to be severe, but could still be producing some small hail and maybe some gustier winds. But nothing severe out of this at this time. Our main severe show is coming from this complex that continues to move on shore. And again, we expect these storms to be out of here probably closer to the noon, 1 o'clock time frame. And that will kind of put a lid on the thunderstorm potential, at least for the afternoon and early evening hours. We'll be monitoring later in the evening into the early overnight hours for additional severe weather potential. Let me actually go into SPC outlooks. There we go. Let me hide warnings, kind of clean up the look a little bit. Okay. As you can see, our Lake Michigan shoreline counties, earlier our entire area was under a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk. They did re-add some of our areas near the Lake Michigan shoreline into a level 2 out of 5 slight risk. And this is likely going to be for later in the day, not necessarily this morning's activity, although it is severe. This is not necessarily for this morning. We're expecting, again, additional storms to develop later this evening. It will cross Wisconsin and Illinois, and they will eventually track east towards our area, again towards a late evening into the overnight hours. Switching over to tornado potential, it's only a 2% tornado risk. We'll say a 2 to 4% chance of a tornado, which means it's rather low. And really, with the capping immersion and the timing of the storms, I'm not particularly concerned about a tornado threat. But it is a non-zero tornado threat, particularly near the warm front. But again, with the timing and the timing of the storms, in all honesty, I'm not super concerned about it. But we will be monitoring for the potential of a brief tornado. Heading over to wind, that is going to be one of our primary threats. Our highest probability of winds will be near the Lake Michigan shoreline, west of US 131, so areas like Muskegon, Holland, South Haven, Benton Harbor, areas like that. And this will be a 15 to 29% chance of a damaging wind gust exceeding 58 miles per hour. Further to the east, you're in the 5 to 14% chance, which is a little bit lower end chance, but still non-zero. Heading over to hail, and again, similar story to the wind threat. greatest potential near the Lake Michigan shoreline. A more isolated but still non-zero potential once you get east of the US 131 corridor. As again, the timing, at least for the second round expected later this evening and in the overnight, that's not particularly favorable for severe weather. Instability will be weakening, but with strong wind shear overhead, and I think I saw wind shear values between 40 and 50 knots. Put that in this perspective, that's 50, at least 45 to 55, if not 60 miles per hour just above the surface. It won't take too much for once we get high shear values like that. Once we get high shear values like that, it doesn't take too awfully much instability to bring some strong wind gusts or maybe some hail down to the surface. This is not some massive severe weather outbreak, tornado outbreak. This is not anything like that. This is just your normal springtime severe weather risk, hail, gusty winds, although we can't rule out a brief spin-up tornado. It looks like did they drop the severe thunderstorm warning? Let me check something. They didn't. Oh, that's right. I hit it. Duh. Excuse me. Put that back. Duh. I hit it on this software. Anyways, one more time. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue for portions of Kent, Ottawa, and southern Muskegon counties until 11:15, and that is primarily for this complex of thunderstorms that continue to move on shore, especially now just east of Muskegon through the Fruitport area, Perrysburg, heading into Moreland, the Ravenna areas, Coopersville, Casnovia, Kent City, Sparta, Plainfield Township, eventually Plainfield Charter Township, Grand Rapids. This will continue to move east quickly over the next, tending towards 15 minutes. That's how long the warnings remains in effect for. And as once these storms really get east of the Kent County area, and really east of the Ionia, Montcalm County areas, we have continued to see these storms show a weakening trend as they continue to move east. They might still be loud once they get to the 127 corridor, but we're not necessarily expecting major severe weather at that point. Severe weather wasn't really too much of a concern this morning, but they did decide to act up a little bit towards the Lake Michigan shoreline, prompting a few severe thunderstorm warnings. But once these storms are out of here by around noon to 1 o'clock, we are expecting a lull, at least for the afternoon and early evening hours. Then we will have to watch for more severe thunderstorm potential towards the late evening into the overnight hours. I do not see any questions in chat. I will be working on a social media post. I just wanted to do this update first, but we will have a social media post out soon describing the latest on the severe weather potential heading towards the afternoon. Well, not the afternoon, the later evening into the overnight hours. I'm just going to be looking over some new model data. But in the meantime, if we get additional severe thunderstorm warnings for this complex currently moving through, or even the storm out ahead of it towards Belding, Ionia, Orleans, up to the Sheridan area, really near and south of M57. But if we get additional severe thunderstorm warnings for this, or for the final complex moving through the US 31 corridor now, we will be back on with quick coverage to kind of discuss the situation. And although it is very unlikely this morning, given these are elevated thunderstorms, if any county does end up under a tornado warning in our coverage area, we will be live nonstop with coverage until the danger is over. This is Jacob Melton here in the Southern Michigan Weather Center. Stay tuned to Southern Michigan Weather. We will keep you advised.